Well, I think I speak for all Bucks fans when I say that was very disappointing. I'm a Bucks fan, and this was a disappointing first game. I think there's no other way to put it. In Brady, he had some good moments, he had some bad moments. I think it's too early to make any sweeping generalizations, but of course, that doesn't stop most people from doing so. You can definitely have confirmation bias one way or the other. You can talk about his good throws and say, see, he's going to be great. And you can talk about his bad throws and say, see, he's washed up, he sucks. I don't think either are true. First, let's start with the bad, and then we'll get into the good. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll start things off with the most controversial play. This was one where it's going to be a cover 4 zone, also known as quarters coverage. So it's zone coverage, four players are playing deep. And for Mike Evans, he has an option route. If this is supposed to be cover 4, he's supposed to run deep over the middle. And if it's not, he's supposed to sort of sit down in the middle of the field. So, runs deep, keeps running his route if it is cover 4, which it is. So that's what he's supposed to do. And if not, he's supposed to sit down and try to find a soft spot in the zone, and maybe Brady will decide to hit him there. As you see, Mike Evans ends up sitting down. Brady thought he was going to go deep. Brady makes a throw very far deep, and it results in an interception. Now, at first, Bruce Arians, right after the game, said that this was on Brady, but he actually has since then come off that and said no, it actually was on Mike Evans. So, miscommunication there. So that's definitely a tough one. Some people were also saying that it was a high throw and it would have been intercepted anyways. I mean, I don't know. Mike Evans is 6'5" and can move very quickly and can jump very high. I actually think he probably makes that catch if it's thrown there. And another important thing to note is that there was Gronkowski was running deep further over on the right side of the screen, meaning that New Orleans player was taken out of the play. So this actually would have been Evans would have been open had he run that route. So, again, I don't know what a lot of people are saying, but it is Evans's fault. But also, I think that there is kind of a bigger story there, and I think it's worth mentioning. Like, for Bruce Arians, are these plays really that much worth it? I mean, he runs a lot of option routes. He gives receivers a lot of opportunity to make those types of decisions. And part of me does kind of wonder, it's like, these lead to a lot of turnovers. Every quarterback under him has thrown a ton of interceptions. It might not be worth it, even though you do get more yards. I don't know. It's a tough one. The second one absolutely was Tom Brady's mistake. There's no doubt about it. This is just not a great decision whatsoever. What's going to happen here is that you have Justin Watson, who's, a fine player, but he's more of a depth guy, who's going to be running to the outside. And you have Jenkins, who could potentially, cover him. This is cover 3 zone, but Jenkins is going to be the guy who is covering Watson on this one. And it's kind of a situation where he could end up staying far deep, but he has the opportunity to run in if he wants to. And this is just not going to be a smart decision from Brady. I mean, you see that he tries to make this throw, doesn't even throw it that hard. I mean, we would have liked it a little bit more harder, but at the same time, like, that's going to be an interception almost no matter what. Just a bad decision. And you got to think about it too. Like, sometimes, like, that's just not worth it. Sometimes trying to get 5 yards isn't worth the risk of a pick 6. Like, it's just not, like, the risk reward, it's just not a smart decision from Brady. One more negative, again, and these are all decisions, by the way, too. I thought Brady physically looked good, and I'll get to that in a second. It was more of his decision making that I just didn't love, and really just the entire Buccaneers. They didn't look in sync. This one's a good example where it's going to be a cover 3 zone, but there's an extra man in coverage, so there's only going to be a 3-man rush. And there's really 2 routes that I think Brady should look at. There's Gronkowski, who's running over the middle, and then there's Evans, who's running to the outside. And I don't hate looking at either of these routes, but I mean, just looking at it on paper, clearly Evans' route at the top of the screen is going to be a lot more open than Gronkowski's is. Now, Gronkowski does have a slight moment where he's going to be in a gap in coverage, but Evans is going to finish his route in that gap in coverage, so clearly that's the better route. Of course, we now have the luxury of, reading these plays before they happen, so it makes it a lot easier for us, but what you see is that right when this play starts, Brady is staring down Gronkowski. He wants to make this throw to Gronkowski. I think part of it is, it's the fourth quarter now. He's just trying, it's sort of like that's kind of his safety net in a lot of ways. But again, look at the score. This is a 7-point game. I mean, if Brady can find a way to get the ball into the end zone, it's a tie game just like that. Like, this is not out of, I think people are acting like this is a blowout, and it kind of was, but this was a close game in the fourth quarter. But Brady is not looking at Evans. He's looking at Gronkowski. He ends up making a throw. I mean, he's under pressure as well, but he's going to make the throw deep down the middle of the field. He could have thrown it to Evans. It's a little bit tough because of the pressure, but Gronkowski just wasn't open, whereas Evans was. And again, it was a lot of stuff like that, where it's like I'm not really blaming him too much for it because this is the first time he's played with these guys, including with Gronkowski. We're all saying, which Gronkowski are we going to get? Well, I'm sure to some degree, Brady is wondering that as well. Which Gronkowski is he going to get? So as the season progresses, he will learn when he should be looking at Evans for his first read instead of Gronkowski, and he will learn when he should be looking at Godwin for his first read, and he'll learn these kind of things because he'll know who he can trust more. And I do think that a preseason would have really helped him. I don't think that the lack of preseason and, not as much training camp is a complete excuse for the bad play that a lot of Tampa Bay had. I actually think it's very important to say that it isn't. They still made plenty of mistakes, and the Saints were the better team regardless of the couple of bad throws from Brady. However, there absolutely were some positives, and the biggest positive of which is that, there was this narrative, can he throw the deep ball? Well, the answer is a resounding yes. I mean, the deep ball looked great. This is one of the examples where it's going to be a cover one play. Evans is running deep down the field, and there's going to be a cornerback blitz. It's the corner who's covering Evans, which means that now the player who's covering Evans is a lot further down the field. And typically you might think, okay, well, this makes a go route bad, right? But not exactly, because if you are so far down the field because of the disguise, oftentimes you'll have to run in a little bit to make sure you don't get beat on a quick slant or anything. But when you do that, it can actually open up the go route in a lot of ways. That's what's going to end up happening. Evans is going to get somewhat open, not wide open, but it's a great throw, and there's pass interference, which results in the penalty. That's a completion if there isn't interference. So, definitely a really good throw and should have been catch by him and Evans. And that's nice to see because, listen, for Tampa Bay fans, you're very happy because Jameis Winston didn't make those types of throws. This one was another one. This was that opening drive when I was convinced the Bucs were going to the Super Bowl, only for my heart to be ripped out. But it's going to be zone coverage. The way it works is that you have Scotty Miller, I believe that's Scotty Miller, who's running deep, and he's going to start to cut to the outside, but then get back over the middle. The whole point of this is to sort of just clear out the New Orleans player who is playing zone on the top left-hand corner of the screen, because then you have Godwin kind of run as though he's going over the middle, but then get to the outside, and the hope is that there's going to be some separation, and, it could be a good play. And New Orleans player does notice this and tries to keep pace with Godwin, so that's why there still is someone in that area. If he didn't notice this, it would have just been wide open. But, good play by him. So there isn't a ton of separation, but it doesn't matter. Godwin makes a really good catch, and they're able to pick up a big chunk play. And, those things did happen. So, there's a reason why part of me kind of wonders if this might not be a one-year thing. I'm not sure if this can really work in 1 year. This is a really long process, and I think the hope for Tampa Bay is you make the postseason and you have it figured out by the end of the year, so then you can really be good. But part of me does kind of start to wonder, it's like, are we going to need a second year to make this work? And if you do, will Tom Brady be, still athletic enough to make it work at 44? Because, there's already questions at 43. But I thought physically he looked good. I think that there is reason for optimism for Tampa Bay. But they got to figure it out, and they don't have too much time to figure it out. And it's kind of a must-win next week against Carolina. So we'll see what happens. So, yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think about Tom Brady's first game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Definitely an up-and-down game. Probably a lot of fun if you aren't a Bucs fan. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoyed this video. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.